Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. We're excited to have you, and we are talking about something that is so important because a lot of us spend a lot of our time in the inbox, unfortunately, and we're going to walk through how to tackle it, how to outsmart your inbox, email survival tactics for busy lawyers and pretty much just anyone in general. I'm Ruby Powers. I'm board certified immigration attorney and also with the Power Up Your Practice book and podcast. And I have Carl Davidson, who's the co-founder of Candle AI, and he is a former immigration attorney. So excited to have everyone here today. We'll go ahead and get started, and we're going to have some really good tips. So I think while we're going through this, make sure that you are taking notes and figuring out ways that you can take back more time and stay focused on your day. So we'll go to the next slide where we are going to just give a little bit of a bio about myself. I have had my firm for 16 years, been practicing 17. Wrote two books about law practice management, and the Power Up Your Practice book is the most recent one. It's on Amazon, and also the podcast, which I've had Carl on before too. So that I'm really glad that we're having another opportunity to share some best tips and practices, and also do a lot of different things in advocacy, especially with the immigrant community. So, Carl, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Ruby, and thanks for inviting me again to speak with you on such a timely topic here. Just real quick, I'm Carl. As Ruby said, I'm actually a former immigration attorney. About 10 years ago, I transitioned completely out of law and into technology and product management. So it's kind of an unusual path that I've been on here. So for the last 10 years, I've basically been, you know, working in tech, trying to build products that really help the legal industry. So I've been mostly in legal tech in the last 10 years, and yeah, I'm a co-founder of Candle AI, and we really solve one um, main problem, and that's email overload that legal teams face. So this is a really cool webinar for me to be on, and it's such a timely topic. I'm just excited to get at it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're going to talk about some best tips, and as we go to the next slide, we're going to give some strategies on how to tackle it. And I mean, honestly, I think that not whether or not you're watching or you're having your executive assistant or your legal assistants, your team, this can be helpful for everyone. As email can seem to consume a lot of our time, and unfortunately some people use it as their roadmap for what to, their to-do list, right? For what to do for the day. And that's not really what we should do, because then it can derail us. Just for fun, I was like, when did email start? And it's apparently like 1970s. And I remember having like the AOL thing, like somewhere in the mid 90s or something like that. But I remember when I was an exchange student as a gap year between high school and college, like I had to walk and then take a train and then take a bus and then go to a library to check my email once a week. And it was like this big moment. And here, I mean, I can be on my stupid phone and check it like what I don't know, the statistics. Like, is it like people check it like, I don't know, hundreds of times a day or something like that? So it can be that dopamine hit can be very addicting. And we've got to keep an eye on that because it can make you feel like you're productive when reality you're just being reactionary and you're not really taking control of your day. So that's a lot of like why we're talking about this, because before you know it, it's like this creep where it just starts taking over your day without having more intention. Um,
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole, definitely. It's really
yeah.
easy to get in there. If you don't have, structured um, kind of processes or best practices involved, it's really easy to slip into this. And next thing you know, your entire day pretty much is taken up on email. So hopefully, we could give you some techniques here during this webinar. I was smiling when you were talking about the history of email, Ruby, because it's actually
Uh-huh.
a pretty interesting history. It's kind of a fascinating read if anybody wants to learn about the history of email. There's actually several people in claiming that they invented email.
Oh, really? Like
Yeah,
they
and
invented the internet? There's
yeah,
people like that too.
exactly right. And so it's kind of like it's funny how so many people are trying to claim this, and it's see how it's kind of grown ever since. But it's a fascinating history how email got started.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right. It is debated. And then I remember when I was in the late 90s, a lot of my Belgian exchange student friends, or the people that I lived in Belgium with, they didn't have an email, and I was like helping them set up an email, and I was like, little did I know that was going to, what was going to happen from that. And then even now, I think it's hilarious because I have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old, and my 12-year-old's approach is just delete, like delete on arrival, and I'm like, there's a message there. There's a message like you're
Yep.
supposed to read
Yep.
it first. But anyway, I guess that's debatable. But it's not spam if it's from your mom.
Yep.
Anyway, I guess we can go on to the. So we'll start walking through some suggestions. So the next slide, we talk about why it's important. I mean, a lot of times, unless you have a client portal, this is like how things are communicated. This is sort of like the super highway of communication. I mean, we're not really using fax anymore. Hopefully, nobody is. And and mail is people. A lot of people don't even check. I don't know, mail anyway. So email, and almost email in some cases, like people that say they check their text over an email, but the email is more predominant for professional communication. Even though text has been more common too for that instant response. And then we're also seeing an impact in immigration, but I mean, not even if you don't practice immigration, a lot of other notices are given updates. Like even with my federal litigation, I get a lot of communication via email. Even our updates with the immigration court, we get emails, USCS, we get case status updates. So even being able to file online, and even updating like the asylum office with attachments, like so. Um, anyway, so and then I think there's sort of this impression that if it comes by, I don't know what, if it comes by text, there's like an expectation for it to be faster than if it comes by email versus it comes by mail. I don't know. I think there's
Yeah.
something about that, right?
I think exactly. And I think this has put pressure on responsiveness on emails, like text
Yeah.
messaging, WhatsApp, instant messaging. It's everybody's used to that. So they have the certain expectation level that when they send an email to an attorney, okay, like it's been 5 minutes. Where's my reply? Just because that's what they're used to in text messaging and WhatsApp. And it's just kind of how it is now, right? The more people that use, text, instant messaging, WhatsApp, the more their expectation for quicker responses via email is. It's just kind of a natural thing. Um, and also, I think just to add why it matters now too is that we have heard talking to law firms, and I think there's some articles about this too, is there with the constant changes,
Oh
policy
yeah.
changes right now,
Hmm.
just in the last year, changes in regulation, um, you know, uh, Twitter messages going out, Truth Social stuff going out there about an executive order that changes everything. So many people get affected overnight, and I think immigration in particular is feeling the pain in this. If something comes down, a policy change, it affects many people, and those people will want to contact their attorney about the changes. Like, what's this? What's going on? And because it kind of is very dependent on their security here in the U.S., their status they want and maybe like they deserve a very quick response in those things.
Hmm.
Things are happening almost at a daily weekly basis right now in
Yeah.
terms of policy changes, and it's the result is an inundation of an increase in client communication. So it is very timely in this day and age, this
And I
subject.
think we're going to discuss a little bit more, but like I think what I'm seeing in terms of my team is that they're just so the sense of urgency from the panic sort of takes over the ability to use the executive function to realize what really needs to be addressed and what doesn't, because you're having to spend so much time filtering. Is this triaging, which is like, medical terminology, but like, is this urgent or can I put this aside? And like, just the whole, I mean, a lot of what we're talking about is also time management skills. And if you're good at that and you apply it to your email, then you're, like you're batching and having do not disturb and those types of things. But what I've been seeing is that clients are just so like inundating the call, blowing up the calls and the messages and stuff. And it's like the staff can't even just get the job done. Like if they could just have a reprieve and pretend like they
Yep.
didn't have email for like a day, they could maybe get a lot of stuff done. And it's like,
Yep.
when do you respond or review a notes, emails, and when do you just get the stuff done? And yeah, I I feel the pain too. Like I'm in meetings or speaking all day, and like I just told my team, I'm like, I can't review anything until 4:30 p.m.
Mhm.
So just hold your horses because that's just what's gonna happen. Anyway, so I guess the next one's a little scary because the next slide, because of the statistics out there. Yikes. I mean, have any
Yeah.
of us really kept track of how much time that we're doing? We probably could easily with like tracking and things like
Uh-huh.
that. I mean, it could even be more than 50%.
Yeah. So there was a recent ABA study that came out that said the average lawyer gets over 120 emails a day,
Hmm.
but they acknowledge that that's the average, and some
Yeah.
segments receive a lot more than 120 emails a day. Some of that might, could probably fall on immigration clients. Also, like plaintiff, personal injury firms, plaintiff class action firms. They are inundated with emails based because that's kind of that's such how the transaction kind of works, right? They see who's in this class, and so 120 plus emails per day. This ABA study also found that responding to emails, lawyers respond to about 40 to 50 emails per day. So
Hmm.
they get about over 120 per day. They respond to about 40 to 50 per day. And if you just do simple math, let's say a response could take, 4 to 5 minutes or 3 to 5 minutes. That's almost half your day. If you're responding to 45, 50 emails a day and it's taking each one like 3 to 5 minutes, that's what, 4 hours? I gotta, that's almost pretty much half your workday, right? And this is what we're dealing with. This is reality right now with a lot of firms. So,
And it's not just that, it's also like the switch tasking, like in the book Deep Work,
mhm,
he talks about like how when you're switching from one thing to the next, and like when you're having to remember, oh wait, that client that did by Cal Newport, I really like that. That book helped me write my first book, honestly, because I like learned
mhm.
to find more time out of my day, which is amazing. Like, how do you do that? But yeah, like if you're like this asylum this and then this, mandamus that, or like, oh, that VAWA this or this U visa that, like your brain is like, well, what's
Hmm.
going on with that notice of intent to fine? And like just your brain is going all over the place. So like and you don't want to say something wrong. Like we have all this duty to like do a good job everywhere, right?
Yep.
And not say something incorrect. So like you can't just rattle off something without knowing what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I think that's a great bullet. Like the mental drain, decisions, toggling. This is one of the main reasons why emails take so long. And you hit it nail on the head. It's context switching. And when you get a client email, you might that client might be asking you one, two, three, four questions on the email, and that will require you to probably go to multiple places to find those answers. You might have to go to your case management system, do like, whatever, 7, 8, 9 clicks in your case management system to find the status of the person or find something else on the person. You might have to go to your a file to find another answer to that one email. You might have to talk to a paralegal to be like, okay, so you talked to this person last week. So what's the stat? I mean, all this adds up, and that's answering one client email, right? This context switching is a killer. It's just a time drain. And it's not only the time drain, I think to your point, Ruby, is that when you move away,
Hmm.
going back to the email, it just you lose focus and you have to like reamp, like, okay, what is this email talking about again? It's like it's just constant the context switching, refocusing on the
Yeah.
email. That takes a lot of mental drain on a person, and that happens multiple times a day, right? And I could probably talk about Candle later, but like that's one of the things. That's one of the main things that Candle tries to solve is the context switching. We try to alleviate and reduce the amount of context switching that lawyers have to do per email. But this is exactly one of the main reasons why emails is just taking a lot of time now, right?
And then also like when you have to put in your time or you have to include like, our system, we include an email account so that it gets put in our case management software, just like even going around and making all that happen. So like we've mentioned like the high expectations of the responsiveness, like, if somebody emails you, like, I think that's a good point though, like building up what the expectations of what the response time is. And we do have that in our contract and we do have like what the amount of time is. And we do remind clients about that, but of course they just get annoyed because we say that. But it's
Mhm.
really like we honestly can't just drop everything and they are not our only client. Like love them, but we have to do our due
Mhm.
diligence and we have first come first serve and we're constantly managing. It's like one assistant used to say like getting the ball in the other person's court as soon as possible so that people aren't waiting on you. But
Mhm.
gauging that and I think what you said is like it's not just that the responding, but it's also that prioritization of who do you have to respond, what do you have to handle. That takes a certain amount of bandwidth, which is very silent drain right there. Just like even like prioritizing your day each day, and figuring out who you really need, what needs to be taken care of. And I think we can't talk about this really without talking about that the Eisenhower time matrix
Mm.
about the important and urgent and not important, not urgent type of the diagram with the four quadrants. And
Mhm.
I think what happens a lot of times is you have to stay the course on your important, not urgent, so that you can be preventative and you can get what needs to get
Mhm.
done. But what happens is these emails and texts and these little interactions, distractions can sort of creep into that urgent, important, which can make you feel like everything there needs to get done all the time, which will never get you to quadrant two, which is where you really need to live.
Yeah. I think with the prioritization thing, that's one of the when you get an email, everything looks the same, right? When
Mhm.
every email that comes in your inbox, it's
Yeah.
coming in. So you have non-essential emails coming in, you have urgent emails coming in. Unless it's something is unless somebody puts urgent right on the subject line, it all looks the same visually. And it's very difficult if you don't have systems in place like smart labeling or categorizing, putting certain things in folders to look at your inbox, and it's very easy to actually equally put the same amount of priority on each one, and it's not. You're getting a marketing email here, you're getting a something over here. Then you have like this urgent client email that needs an answer probably in 10 minutes, and it's all the same, and it's just coming in. So yeah, that's one of the things that I think that is needed in order to kind of be more efficient on this, is to kind of have that practice of prioritizing visually your inbox.
Yeah. And we can go to the next slide, but I think that whole concept of not making your inbox your to-do is like so critical. So if you catch yourself letting your inbox be your like we've all heard don't just go check your email right when you wake up and just start reactionary. Like you should have an intention. What am I wanting to accomplish today? Go back to like maybe what you wrote to yourself the night before or the afternoon before of like what needs to get done. Refresh your mind, because once you start go looking at everything and letting it take over as your inbox, your to-do, your inbox being your to-do list, then it derails your day. And honestly, that's one of the things when I was working on my first book, I really couldn't check my email until I was done with my writing for the morning, because if I did, my brain was going all over the place thinking about cases and things like that. So, um, and so here we're talking about those most common email traps. I think that number one is so true. I mean, if we
Mhm.
were to have a poll right now, probably everybody would say, yes, I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, I think part of this too is that uh, email. Some folks treat email as their like their case management system, and
Oh, uh-huh.
it's never it was never built that way, right? So when you say to-do list, that really resonates with me because that's what some people do is that they treat their email as almost like a case management system, a checklist, a to-do list, and I could see how they do that because everything's right there. Your client information is there. You're getting emails from the client, and so it is easy to kind of like, okay, what do I need to do now? On to the next one. But the way email is built as of today, like I'm talking about Outlook, Gmail right now,
Mhm.
it's very, it's a trap to, it's an easy trap to fall into to treat your current email as like your case management system, as like a to-do list because like you said it was never built that way, and it's just very easy to go down that rabbit hole if you're working it that way.
Yeah, I agree. Like I think Gmail is my favorite one. I feel like they've got all these extra things. They're trying to make more like project management tools, and they have all these extensions and add-ons. Um, but you're right. That is a good point. And you can't let it be just your case management. I mean that, because if you were like, it's just the people, the squeaky wheels that are the ones who are moving up all the time. You still have other people that you have to take care of that aren't
Hmm.
emailing you, and yeah.
Yeah. And what we see is a lot of times people tend to do these workarounds like they would they would read an email and they're like, okay, that's not too important. They would remark it as unread, right?
Oh,
And so they figure, okay, that's not too important, so I'll just take that in the future, right? So
oh,
the inbox then becomes very messy because you have unread messages that are kind of going back further down in the line, right? Like on your timeline, you have new messages coming in, right? And some of those you might read and mark as unread because it's the way email is right now, the way it's without any add-ins or anything like that. It's a very easy trap to fall into, and this is, you know,
yeah. And the problem with what you just said is like the person spent the time to read it, but then they just sort of like put it back there for something to be processed again. So like they lost
right.
that time. And I think there's like that one of those like efficiency hacks is like, I don't know what the amount of time is, but if it can take you less than like a couple of minutes, just get it done or something
Yep.
like that. And
Yep.
instead of like postponing it for later.
Hmm. Yeah, if something can get done in 5 minutes or less, do it. Just do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which can feel a little challenging when you're like, well, this email won't take but more than 5 minutes. This won't email,
Mhm.
but you have to keep that within reason. And the no delegation system where you don't have a plan on who can help you with different aspects. But let's move over to the next slide because I think it has a lot of good other, yeah, the like we have other tips. It's a tool to get the job done, when not to use it, status updates, team chat, urgent decisions. Yeah, even in my book, I talked about like, when is this a chat communication? When is this a text? When is this a phone call? When, because if it's urgent, I would not use this as a resource. I would use a chat, for example. I think we skipped over a slide. I think, is there step one? Let's go back. Yes, there we go. There we go. So this is a really good tip on the unsubscribe to newsletters, or filter, filter them. But unsubscribe is more drastic, but filter, we have so many filters. Sometimes we over filter. Uh we're so it's been known to accidentally like filter some important things. But the chances of that happening, there's like only a couple of times versus where it was actually not about. where there's a bad case scenario of that happening. But so there's a lot of different ways that you can unsubscribe, filter, and you can, if you have someone else who's helping you manage your inbox, you can help like different color coding or different systems. So what else would you suggest
Yeah,
to that?
I think, yeah, I think with this, a couple things, utilize labeling in a kind of a smart visual way. Like I said, if you look at an inbox, everything looks the same, and that means everything looks like it's equal priority. So
Hmm.
you have to take the initiative to visually mark certain things the way you want it to look like, right? You could set up rules and filters for specific keywords. If something comes in asking, like if there's an email that comes in with the word urgent, or rejected or something, it goes into a label,
Hmm.
or it might go into a certain folder, or it might get highlighted. So there are some ways to utilize Gmail and Outlook to set up these advanced rules and filtering.
Hmm.
That's one way to kind of break that whole monotony of a screen, like that whole thing that looks the same. Because I think that's really important, at least for me too, right? I'm a very visual person, and if everything looks the same, I'm going to treat everything equally important, and they're not, right?
Right.
So, um, you could place priority tags on certain things, and yeah, I mean, I think these like advanced rules and filters are really key, and also doing some smart labeling, just so that they fall into their own separate folder on the side.
Yeah, because if you don't use this smart labeling and filtering and unsubscribing, you're gonna go crazy with what
Mhm.
when people get a hold of your email. Like
Yep.
even on my business card, I don't put my direct email on it. I don't know. There's probably different schools of thought about that, but like if
Mhm.
I want, I put the general law firm one on it because ultimately that's what's going to funnel consultations and things like that. But if I want
Mhm.
them to have my direct email, I'll just handwrite it on the card.
Yep. I
Uh,
think the reply all thing too is pretty significant. Like, I think um, sometimes folks tend to reply all on things that they may not need to,
mhm,
and just copy a bunch of people. Um, that's just kind of adding to the overall weight of your inbox. You're just kind of pushing it off to other folks. So I totally agree. Limit reply all, um, when you can, because that's helping out your team as
mhm.
well.
Um, yeah, and I was just thinking we could move to the next slide, but I think like a lot of stuff we're saying, like sometimes you don't listen to webinars or CLEs about email because you're like, we all do it. But
Mhm.
who teaches us like best practices? Like I'm thinking about it from my
Mhm.
kids' perspectives. And like how else are they going to know unless they have a job or maybe like I teach them these types of things. I don't know. But like even that don't reply all or be careful who you're including in the email. Don't accidentally send it to opposing counsel or something when you don't want to. Um, yeah, I mean rerouting the conversation, if you need to explain how you need to communicate on things, all of that is important. I think just also teaching your team, is this a chat, is it an email, is this a phone call, and is this appropriate, is this the most appropriate way to communicate this information?
Yeah, I think with this too, there are ways that you could use or create and use shared inboxes
Hmm.
for collaboration. So that there's ways that you could have, so multiple team members can see certain inboxes or certain emails that come in.
Hmm.
I think this is all about rerouting the conversation. I think is easily missed sometimes when it comes to email best practices, because I think when you look at your inbox, at least when I look at my inbox, I almost see it as a challenge. Like, yep, I could conquer this. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get through this before lunch, or I'm going to get through, 50 unread messages before lunch. I could do this. And it doesn't immediately come to mind that, like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. This person on my team actually could answer this much better than I can, or at least this person on my team has better context about this, right? And I think it's a matter of, okay, how do I get that person involved into this email, right? Or this email question. I think a lot of lawyers take pride in trying to finish off their like you were saying, like a lot of them view this as a to-do list, and so let me get through my to-do list. So this
Hmm.
is easily, I think, missed sometimes, that take advantage of, shared inboxes, collaboration tools that can pull in other folks into the conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And then like how much do you need to say before you route it, and can they just take it from there? I think sometimes I'm guilty of just like forwarding without saying a lot, but at least I delegated, I guess. I don't know.
Yep.
We let's go to the next slide. And yeah, this is really important. This is a lot about the time management and
Mhm.
doing like-minded like similar things at the same time. So like even just how on Tuesdays and is more internal meeting day and for us, and then we do a lot of consults on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday for the most part, and Friday's like a catch-up day. But you can do whether it's like theme, but it's also could be for like what the function that you do. And so ideally not checking your email all day long, but to only do it a couple of times a day and not be getting all those little notifications. Like even sometimes my team have those little, I don't know, Apple Watches or all those little gadgets and gizmos. And I'm like, I know you think you're being productive, but every time you get an email, you get distracted because you look at your watch, and I think that you're not able to stay focused on even the conversation that we're having, So anyway, how do you
I love
batch it?
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love this step. I think again, this is another thing that people tend to overlook. Like this is something that I would totally recommend to busy lawyers. And one thing I actually heard recently was this concept around scheduling email sprints. This is kind of a tech
Mm.
term where in tech we have sprints, or like stand-ups, stand-up meetings every
Oh,
day.
uh-huh. Yeah.
Every day we have a certain time, just to talk about a certain thing, right?
Uh-huh.
And I think that's great because we time box that. We time box that time, and then the rest of the day is all about deep work, right? And why not do the same thing with emails?
Hmm.
I love how you have two times a day. I guess this is for every individual. They could do their own time, whatever it works for them.
Hmm.
But this guarantees a couple things. One, it guarantees that you will see all the emails as they come in, right? Because if it's pretty easy to check, if you're checking throughout the day, you're going to probably miss a few of them, right? But if you time box a certain time during the day, you should be able to hit them, right? But it also protects your it protects your time that you're not checking to do actual deep work, to do actual legal work, right? That you need to get done. This is an incredibly helpful recommendation and suggestion, I think, that a lot of people don't use. And I think they should really start thinking about this. Go on your calendar, time box email time, and see and just try it. Try it for, a certain time frame, and see if that becomes more efficient for you.
Yeah, I agree. And we can move to the next slide, but I just highly suggest batching in everything you do. And having themes, days and batching functions. But I one thing I remember when I lived in Dubai, and I really could tell when America would wake up because it was around my 2 p.m. Dubai time. And like I felt amazing because before 2 p.m., like my inbox was quiet, I could get stuff done, but then around that time, everyone starts responding, or that'll happen like after I'll have like I guess a sprint or whatever we're talking, of email. I'll get some late night emailing done. I'm like, oh well, tomorrow I'm gonna get a whole bunch. I'm gonna get a flood, or if it's like, the day after a holiday or something like that. And if you potentially work and you get stuff done, and then no, but I that's a really good point. So we can go to the next slide, which is step four, which is the four actions inbox system. And the do it, delegate, schedule, delete. This is very similar, like for like the four Ds, which is usually said for not just like email, but for anything. I mean, or for the most part. So you just get it done or reroute it, delegate it, maybe schedule to do it later, or schedule sending it later, or just like it's. I mean, you really shouldn't be like delete if you're gonna delete something. Make sure if it's what do you call it, like some newsletter or something that you don't want to be getting in the future, just go that extra second and unsubscribe. But unless it's a one off, but yeah. Anyway, what would you suggest along these lines?
Yeah, I think Ruby, this is all about realizing that with emails, just get to it, write a response or address it, and then move on. Just move on, right? The worst thing you could do is kind of like reading it twice or doing what a lot of folks that I talk to do, which is like reading an email and saying, okay, well, let me get to it later, marking it as unread, and now it's like forgotten in your inbox, right? I think this, to me, this slide is all about, okay, address it and move on. Um, and I think uh, that's what I think, a big way we could reduce time on emails, right? Is like you have all the context switching, um, and then you have to draft the response, right? And that takes some time. That may take some collaboration, but just get it over with, move on, and move to the next one, just to get that cadence going. And this will actually come more into play if you do the other methods like time boxing your email. If you know you have a certain amount of time to look
Hmm.
at your emails, then you're not going to mess around. You're It's like, okay, I have an hour right now. This is my time to look at emails. Boom, 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 boom. And if you don't have a time box like that, you do tend to be like, okay, well, I could get to this one later. And then let me just write a draft for this one, but not send it. And then, oh, let me just check on my paralegal for this one, and then I'll get back to it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Or it's sort of like doing like double work, and or forgetting that like if sometimes my assistant drafts it and then I'll be like, oh yeah, it reminds me, I need to go look at my drafts and see what's over there. And don't want those drafts to get too many over there, or if, especially if it's time sensitive. So let's move to the next slide. And it's the why case management tools didn't fix it. A lot of times clients still prefer email. You can try to train them to use client portals, but that doesn't not everything's a portal conversation type of thing. Like you might be just talking, scheduling a lunch, or you might be connecting with, I mean, with somebody who's has nothing to do with, it's not your client. And so you still need to use email. And it also you're on, I mean, I don't know, I'm on so many listservs. Like I'm glad that it's in another place and I can just go there every once in a while to look at what's going on. But I can't say, go to a portal. It really much email is like the main core channel. Anything to mention along this lines?
Yeah, I agree, Ruby. I think case management systems have been trying to move people away from their inbox for years. I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of case management systems have been, really trying to push folks to do in-app, in-platform messaging.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you guys, hey, if you want to send out an email or you want to communicate with your clients, tell them to log in, and then we could have this, all the communications in our case management system in our platform. It's never taken hold. It's been years that they've been pushing folks to do this. It's never become popular. It's I think, in my opinion, it's because of several reasons. I think most of it is like habitual, what's familiar, what's comfortable for people. Um, it's email. It's still
Yeah.
Gmail and Outlook. And also, folks have multiple apps in their life, multiple platforms,
Oh, yeah.
right? And
Exactly.
and it's like it's another thing I have to log into. to actually just to talk to somebody, right?
Mhm.
It's like I have to do this for my medical, for my doctor, for now, and then I got to do this for my like my auto shop person. I got to log into all these platforms just to ask a question. Now I got to do it for my lawyer too, and it just becomes like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Um, and also like if it's a very urgent matter, I don't know how many, at least for me, it's like I'm not gonna if I know I could just reach you via phone or via email and it's urgent, I'm not gonna put in my username, my password, click on, communications, write it, click on send, and then it's there, right? And then log out of my portal. Just to ask you an urgent question. So it's one of these things that I think it's very just hard for people to break the habit. And yeah, it's you know,
I
it's
agree.
never had.
And we can go to the next slide, but you're right. I mean, even like, okay, the Texas Children's Hospital for my kids. Let's see, my CPA. What else makes me do a portal? I don't know. There's probably a couple. I'll be like, okay, it's just because it's you. I'm willing to do it, you know. But
Right.
like, and I'm having a long-term relationship with them. But if it was like a one-off, I don't want to have to like sometimes it's this two-factor authentication is ridiculous. Like you have to like get a text and an email and a text and an email and like, God forbid you're on a plane and you can't get a text or something like that or I don't know. Like
Mm-hmm.
anyway,
Yep.
that's a whole nother story.
I think part of it too is like, and this is related to this slide too, your essential email toolkit, is that you notice here that your essential email toolkit doesn't have anything about case management system. And I think a lot of firms, close to half of the firms out there right now in the US, or I'm talking about mostly small and mid-sized
Mhm.
older firms, they don't even have a case management system. They just have email. They just have email and maybe an Excel. They have email and Google Docs. They have Gmail and something else, right? They
Yeah.
don't have a case management system. And so what do those folks do? Right? Like they can't go in app. They can't tell their clients to log into a portal and things like that, right? So I think when it comes to email, you kind of have to devise your own strategy just for your inbox, just for Gmail or Outlook or specifically to your inbox, right? And yeah, some of these things are straightforward, but folks just don't do it, or they need to do more of this. Templates, super, super important in terms of efficiency as well, but also in terms of being consistent as a firm in your messaging to clients. One way to be consistent is through templates. Templates can be checked, it can be changed, it can be saved, and it could be pulled up and used in specific situations for a consistent and fast message, right? That's one, when we talk about client responsiveness, that's one way to solve client responsiveness. If you have a template ready to go and it matches an email, use it. Use it. It's there. And it's also going to be consistent throughout. Like, so if one paralegal uses it, another paralegal, another attorney could use the same template. And it's kind of a consistent messaging across them.
I mean, I wonder if we were to ask the audience like how or when's the last time you updated your templates? Because honestly, this is a really good tip. I mean, like I get a lot of like, I want a consult or I heard about you. And I like this is where I get my heart tugs because it's like I want to write back to them because I want to say, oh, thank you, But then the other part of me, like realistically, if I don't forward this straight to my contact team right now, then it's gonna probably be another day before I see this again. So, and I won't have time to write a nice little note. So, but if I had, if you have a nice little template, you can thanks so much for contacting me. I'll have my team help you schedule a consultation. That just and it also depends on where you are in the team and what you do. Like, is it your I like my legal assistants do different things than what my email does. And so like I might be getting requests for a consult, and then I might be getting clients like the legal assistant can't handle the response, and so they're sending it to me for a legal perspective. But, whatever can be templatized, do it. And it's not just you, everybody in the firm, and review them on a regular basis because I think we sort of just say, oh, it's just another second here or two. Oh, it's another, well, this all adds up. It's super duper all adds up. And um, I think like there's a lot of really good tips and tricks out there, especially even using like Candle AI and being able to use it to help respond to save so much time in drafting, for example. So maybe
Yeah,
we,
that's mhm.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think in terms of there are tools, like Candle AI does provide a lot of efficiency gains, like you were saying, in terms of we could automatically generate a response to a client email
Uh-huh.
using client information from your system. So it's context aware, right? We also are able to show context aware details about the client and the client's case when you're looking at that client's email. So everything is right there. We reduce and eliminate the context switching. All this is it's very tech forward. One thing I do want to point out though are templates. So templates are not, when you think about templates, you're like, that's not really not tech forward, tech savvy. But what we found was a lot of firms use it. A lot of firms love it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, why let's use it. Let's utilize and leverage a firm's templates that they already have and take it a step further, right? And so what we do is we actually we display all the templates that a firm has right on the inbox page itself. Again, to alleviate the context switching and the need to like do multiple clicks to find a template, and we have it right there for you to search right on the inbox page and to select, and it goes right into the reply field of the email of the client email itself. And we recognized early on talking to firms that this is a must have. Like templates is a must have. It's being used by firms. Let's just leverage what they have already, right? So we have a lot of things in the roadmap in terms of doing kind of what you were saying, Ruby, like
Mm-hmm.
automatically updating templates if things change. So if something changes in the system or something changes in the law
Yeah.
that's related to a template, we could have an ability to actually update that template for you on the fly automatically. We could also make it smart in that if you're replying to somebody using a template, it will automatically fill out the certain things from the email chain itself, like the person's name will appear, the person's whatever address will appear, so you don't have to manually write it. So these are some things that we're working on, but templates is a huge time save, and it's a big opportunity.
I think we didn't really go into what candle is. I think, do you want to give a little description a little bit more?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
sure. And
it might
I
probably
think
makes different.
we were so
Yeah,
into kind of going through
yeah.
the best practices, but simply um, Candle solves the email overload pain point that a lot of lawyers and law firms face, and we solve it by doing really two things. One is we reduce or eliminate context switching. So when you get a client email, like I said, you probably will need to do multiple clicks into your case management system, look into your files. You have to go through all these other places to find the answer to that email. With Candle, because we integrate with your systems, with your case management systems, we could actually display and show the relevant data for a client right on your inbox page itself on a right-hand menu. So that what that does is that alleviates all the context switching involved because you have the relevant data right on the inbox page for you to answer a client email. You have the relevant data right there. That's one. Number two, we have automatic replies. So you get a client email. Not only do you have the all the relevant information that we show, but you also have the capability to generate a response to that email in seconds and the generated response will use the information, the client information that you have that we're connected to. So it's a context aware response. So that is reducing time two ways. One is like I said, it's reducing the context switching, but it's also taking away all the time that it takes to manually write a response, to actually draft a response, right? So we draft like an initial first response. We don't actually send the response out. It's up to the lawyer or the paralegal to still review it and click send. But we give you a good response that's context aware, and we draft it in seconds for you to use. So those are the two main value adds. Like I said, we also have templates. We have the ability to have all your templates right on the inbox page itself, for easy access. So you don't have to search for it, click multiple times. And all this stuff adds up, right? Uh, Eliminating context switching, eliminating the need to draft the response, having the templates right at your fingertips. Um, it might not seem like a lot, but for every email that comes in, if you could shave off several, some minutes here, some minutes there, some minutes there, what you find is next thing you know, you're saving an hour, 2 hours a day on emails. And that adds up to what? Like an extra, like an added day, really, on your work week if you add it up per week. So,
And it adds up everywhere because even if you don't acknowledge it or your team every minute that you're not having to pay them to do something that can be automated. And I mean, we're in the age of editing, not drafting from scratch, right? Like if you're drafting anything from scratch nowadays, something's
mhm,
like we should be using AI and other technologies to get and templates and things like that to be able to just be editing. But no, I mean I was really excited to talk with you and Sujith like last year and like watch your evolution with Candle, and like it's definitely an issue that like if more than 50% of our day is spent in email, like seriously,
mhm.
you're addressing an issue that is definitely a concern of all of ours.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
I think also just to add that not just saving time, but um I think what we're trying to do is give time back, and you could do whatever you want with that time, right? You could get more clients if you want, but this could also be a time where you could better your work-life balance, right? You could be more you could go home earlier if you want, right?
Yeah.
I think it's all about that as
What
well.
a concept.
Because yeah, what a concept, right? Because let's face it, email time on emails is very taxing. When I used to be a lawyer, there would be times I would go home, go to bed, and then in the middle of the night, I'm like, wait a minute, did I respond to every email did I respond to that person that came in that sent me an email earlier today? And it's just like
Yeah.
it becomes too much. It's incredible how much power emails in your inbox has over you outside of your working day. So that's one of the ways we're trying to also help
Well,
in
I
terms
mean,
of
with
in
this
terms
whole
of
working from anywhere, we have it on our phones, right? And then we're like, oh, we're on a trip somewhere, and then we're like, oh, what's the innocence of just responding to this little email? And I think that goes also that don't model the always on, like not only for your staff and but also for your clients to know like you're not always going to get a response because you start training. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I'm super guilty of that. Like
Mhm.
I was literally in labor and I was
Mm.
like taking email. Like I'm a bad person on this type of situation, which is funny because I'm talking about this right now. But I'm recovering.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
but I think we're going to need to move to the next slide. But I think encouraging clarity, that bullet is important because like if you just leave it like vague, like I don't know what are you asking me to do? Who's supposed to do what? Especially one of the biggest things is when there's too many people in the email. Like
Mhm.
why? Why do all these people need to be in this email? And what do you want them to do? I'm a little guilty of that too, but I do think about that. But what here's some habits like turning off the notifications. We sort of mentioned that, having templates, batch replies. Anything to mention? Maybe we'll move to the
Yeah,
next
just
slide.
yeah, just kind of just to review some of the things we mentioned before, right? Labeling, I think visually separating things out on the inbox is important. Prioritizing it, setting up advanced rules and filtering. So if a certain word comes in, it could kind of get filtered right away. Um, and try to actually visually make it. Everything comes in, like I said, it looks the same on your inbox. To visually separate things that you need that are truly urgent from others is very important.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So in the next slide, think we in the next one we and if anybody has any questions, feel free to put it in here. We really appreciate I mean, delegation is so key, and make sure that you're assigning. Let's move to the next slide because there's a lot. We're almost done, but I think just recapping, reduce by filtering, unsubscribing, reroute, like assigning to who needs it. But when you are doing the work, like batch it so you're not doing it 24/7 all day long, keeping it on in the background, but you're maybe doing it only a couple times a day. And then triaging like what absolutely requires immediate attention, what could be put off a little bit longer. And then and leaning into delegating because if you're running a law firm, you're a prime managing attorney, you're a right hand associate, whatever your role, like even if you are not one of those roles, but you're like a senior legal assistant or something like that, like you need to be able to know when to delegate, and that goes part of that whole prioritization and triaging. But I think if we keep remembering these tools, we'll constantly being able to save time, but also, like you were saying, like buy back time that we can reprioritize and be able to accomplish more. Because I think that's also another theme is like people are like, oh, with AI and technology, like, are we going to have jobs? Like that's the extreme everyone's like afraid of or something. But what use the tools we have available, be smart about your time and management and get the most out of what your resources and you in leveraging these tools. I think that's one of the key points.
Yeah, I don't think I think folks I could understand the some folks have trepidation with AI and and tech, but it really is a game changer right now versus just where we were a couple 2 or 3 years ago, especially in terms of this area around email. Right, a lot of the things around email can be optimized and can be improved from an efficiency standpoint using technology and AI. A lot of things that are currently happening or currently the way people do emails is very manual. It's very easy to fall into that rabbit hole. And I would say, look at tech to help in this space because there's some creative things going on right now in terms of how to actually optimize email so that you don't so that lawyers don't actually kind of like think of themselves as a quote unquote email lawyer, which we've heard before. They actually think of themselves back as a practicing lawyer, doing most of the day is focused on, you know, doing cases, filing cases, getting clients instead of actually living in their inbox. And this is what a lot of tech is out there to do.
I agree. So like what's one email habit that you're ready to change now that we've convinced you? Maybe you knew everything we already said, but what was maybe a reminder or something that you're like, wow, yeah, you're right. I mean, I think one of the ones I need to go back and reevaluate my templates. I need to leverage using Candle a lot more and make sure my team is using it because it's just like using like ChatGPT or anything else. You have to like you got to get used to it and you need to keep using it on a regular basis and you keep improving and then you'll get addicted to it basically. And then you'll always like have it on but I think one of the other key takeaways in just even getting ready for today's summer webinar is also just don't don't let it be your to-do list and just don't let it be on all day where you're constantly just trying to react to it.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know if we got any oh,
Well, Sujit is sending some information about Candle and how to reach out to you, so that's nice.
oh cool.
And let's go to and like the anybody else have any questions? I know we're at the top of the hour. If anybody wants to stay in touch, feel free to ask questions. We can go to the next slide. Have feel free to reach out to me. And I do if you're we're always looking for guests for Power Up Your Practice, or it's a great place to learn a lot of tips. In fact, we did have Candle on the podcast, and we have a lot of other great guests and practice pointers for people who have their firms. But I think maybe we could stop sharing, and if anybody has any questions, feel free. And we have the candle information in the chat. And my neighbors are doing construction, so sorry about the beeping.
Can't even hear her. Can't
Okay,
even.
good. Can't hear that. Um, but I think this is the funny thing is how often do you listen to like a webinar about email? But you know, honestly, it's like email meets tech meets client management meets time management, right? And this is where we spend a lot of our time. So I think this is critical that we evaluate and sort of take a moment to say, are we being the most efficient? And how can we find better ways to, take back our time and outsmart our inbox?
Mhm.
So, well,
Yep.
thanks, Carl. Any parting words for our audience? And we'll have
There,
this on YouTube and some other places people can
awesome. Yeah,
watch
yeah.
later.
Can't wait to watch it on YouTube. Yeah, I think a lot of folks are kind of overwhelmed with email, but rest assured that there are ways and methods and tools out there that could uh, give back more control over emails. I think it's just a matter of implementing some of these methods and techniques and trying it and see which ones work. It could be simple again, like time boxing. Try a tool, try a new technology, and see where that goes. But help is out there in terms of the being overwhelmed with email. So don't despair.
That's right. And I mean, I think just as we close, this will be posted on the Power Strategy Group YouTube. And so, you can even have your team watch it and think of like better ways to master the best use of their time. But also, Kendall, you guys are going to be at the American Immigration Lawyers Association conference in just a few weeks, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, not only will we be there, but we'll have a booth
Mm.
there. It's going to be our like first booth at a legal conference.
Oh,
So
wow.
we're super excited. Yeah, we're going to be there.
And Kendall was showcased at the ALA Tech Summit last September in Dallas, and so you guys have come a long way, and now you're gonna have you're gonna have a booth. So that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's been a great journey. You're right. We were at the yeah, we were Innovator Spotlight uh,
Uh-huh.
at the ALA Fall Conference late last year. We were lucky to get mentioned at the ABA Tech Show this year, a couple months ago, during a panel about email efficiency. Um, so and super looking forward to ALA annual. It's gonna be it's gonna be great.
Yeah, it is going to be great. And just one last plug, Power Strategy Group's going to be hosting or being a co-host of the comedy show that Roman
Hmm.
is putting together on June 19th. I heard a couple days ago we only had 30 tickets left, so if anybody's interested, keep a note, pay attention to that, get your tickets. They're going fast. But yeah, I'll be there too. And so if you see one of us, come say hi. If you come tell me your favorite episode, I will have a surprise for you on the podcast of the podcast. So take a listen and come say hi and find me. I will be a roaming I will not have a booth, but I will be a roaming booth myself. So, I'm getting my t-shirts made. So all right. Well, thanks, Carl.
Thank
Everyone
you. Yeah,
who's watched, and we'll see you next time, and let's stay in touch. Take
thanks.
care.
Bye.
Bye.